Hello learners, welcome to my YouTube channel Container Simplified. I'm really passionate about containers technology and I wish to share what I have learned with the wider community. On this channel, you'll find videos related to various container technologies. In the second part of the Kubernetes series, I will deploy microk8s, which is a single node Kubernetes cluster on a Ubuntu VM. So Micro Kubernetes is a very lightweight Kubernetes implementation. It's a zero ops pure upstream Kubernetes implementation, and it is a great learning platform. So it can be used by developers, by DevOps, and by software vendors. It is a very lightweight, and you can easily install using a single command on your VM. And then there are installers available for Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. The installation instructions are very simple. Just by issuing a couple of commands, you will have the Kubernetes cluster up and running. So we will copy the install command and paste it in the VM console. So yeah, you need the sudo privileges on the VM to complete the installation. So installation will not take more than a couple of minutes. So once the installation is complete, we will run the micro Kubernetes status command. So yeah, we have to just run these commands to add ourselves to the micro Kubernetes group and change the owner of the cube directory. And now we will rerun the status command. And let's wait for the output. Hooray! Our microk8s is up and running. So you see, it's how easy it is to install this setup, and it's a great learning platform. So I'll highly recommend you to install this and give it a try. So if you have to run kubectl commands against micro Kubernetes, you have to give micro Kubernetes kubectl command. So I'll suggest to make an alias so that it's easy and you can just run directly kubectl command. Also, if you want to generate the kubeconfig file for micro Kubernetes, just run this command microk8s config and redirect to your config file in .kube directory. And now I have the Helm CLI on this VM. So I just did Helm list, which picked the correct kubeconfig file, which we just generated. So yeah, I'll again rerun the status command, and you see there are some add-ons which are provided by this setup. So I just enabled Helm and the dashboard, and there are some disabled one which can be easily enabled, like storage, Prometheus, Ingress, Helm, and RBAC as well. So yeah, it provides a lot of plugins which can be easily enabled and disabled. So yeah, you can easily start and stop this cluster. So yeah, microk8s stop will stop the cluster and microk8s start will start the cluster. So start takes just around 30-40 seconds. So when you want to free some resources, you can just stop your cluster, and again when you are ready to do some dev work, you can again easily start your cluster. So your pods will again resume once you start the cluster. Let's now try to install Nginx pod. So I'll see I just created the alias. Now I can directly run kubectl command. So there are no pods in the default namespace. So we will create a new Nginx pod using the image Nginx. The port where the application will listen is 80. The namespace is default. And I will first show you the manifest file that will be run. So I'll pass the dry run client and output in YAML format. So this is the manifest file that will be executed. This time I'll run without the dry run flag. So your pod is created now. Let's check the pod status. So it is up and running. So using the -o wide, I can see where this pod is running and also the IP address of this pod. Now we will expose this pod as an NodePort service. So NodePort service means we can access it from outside the cluster. The default service, which is the cluster IP, we can't access it from outside the cluster. From inside the cluster we can access. To access the service from outside the cluster, either you have to create a NodePort service or a load balancer service. So I can do it easily using the kubectl expose pod name, the port where the service will listen, and I want to just generate the manifest file first. I'll run the dry run client and -o YAML format. So yeah, this is the file. This time I'll redirect the output to a nginx.yaml file. I'll edit this file and add the NodePort in this file. So I can access 30082 port. So I just edit in this manifest file and let's save it and try to run it. So the name of the service will be Nginx, and the selector run tells which pod this service will direct traffic to. Because our pod is labeled run Nginx, so this service will be used to direct traffic to our Nginx pod. So let's create the service. Oh, it failed because we need to specify the service type. So I'll add a type argument and give it a value of NodePort. The default is cluster IP service, but then you can't give NodePorts in cluster IP service. So yeah, now we have the Nginx service created. So let me show labels we added in the Nginx pod. So run Nginx. So this is the same we had in our service manifest file. So kubectl get endpoint gives all the pods which are actually listening in that namespace. So we have the Nginx one single pod which is listening on 80 port. So now we have the NodePort. Let's try to access this service from outside the cluster. So I'll go to my web browser. I just need my public IP and I'll give the NodePort and I can see the Nginx. So let's open it in a fresh tab. So I'll add these details. So you see we can easily access the Nginx service. So on this page you can see the comparison of three popular single node cluster setups: microk8s, K3s and minikube. So all three provides very similar facilities, but if you see memory requirements of microk8s is very less. Also it provides a lot of add-ons, so which you can use to test and play around with different kind of functionality as I mentioned in the previous slides. to do with the networking. There are so many networking plugins supported by microk8s, and the storage options. In future videos, I will show you how K3s and Minikube can be deployed and used. So I hope this video was useful to you, where we learned about microk8s setup. And yeah, if you have any comments, please let me know in the YouTube comment section, and I'll be back soon with another video on this series. Till that time, keep learning, keep hacking. Take care.